Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Jeff, and today we're doing, again, how did Russia become an empire? Great Northern War documentary. This is part 3. I'm just going to do this section here that you see that I just highlighted. So I almost ended the video. If you missed the first 2 parts, they're combined, so go back and watch them, you hunk of dog crap, and then you can watch this video. But for those who have caught up, let's get into the video. Ooh, that's right, the battle's about to start. Oh, this is good. I think a battle's about to start.
And wooden stakes were placed in the center on the Goldenhof Hill. There were 2 rows of ramparts running alongside the trench as well, and between them there were soldiers' barracks. Several artillery batteries were placed along the trenches, although they would not have any effect on the battle, as the Russian army ran out of ammunition several weeks before. Sources differ when it comes to the exact size of the Russian army, but modern estimates agree that they had between 35,000 and 40,000 men at their disposal, with the overwhelming majority being infantry. The Russian forces were stretched for over 6 kilometers on their side of the trenches. The Russian army was under the general command of Peter I and Field Marshal Fyodor Golovin. The right wing of the Russian forces were commanded by General Avtonom Golovin, the center by Ivan Trubetskoy, and the left by Adam Vierda. The Russian cavalry, placed on the far side of their left wing, near the bank of the Narva River, was commanded by Boris Sheremetyev. The Swedes had around 9,000 men, out of which 5,500 were grenadiers, 3,500 dragoon cavalry, and 37 cannons. The army was split into 2 relatively equal parts. The right wing contained 3,000 grenadiers, and was commanded by Otto Welling, a veteran of the Scanian War. It was divided into 3 columns, with the one in the center being smaller and being hollow in the middle. The left wing was divided into 2 groups, with one being commanded by Field Marshal.
So this group right here, the one being with the hollow in the middle, I watched. Was it the Novemberists? No. Was it? Anyways, I'm sure Panda or Light Heaven, one of you remember. I questioned why they were in this square, and somebody said it was for cavalry charges or something like that. Is that what this is supposed to represent? Just asking. I'm asking for a friend. I obviously know the answer, but my buddy doesn't, so just fill that in.
Carl Gustav Rientsköld, and the other by Magnus Stenbock. Rientsköld had around 1,500 infantry, divided into 2 columns, while Stenbock had 1,000 infantrymen under his command. The Swedish cavalry was positioned on the flanks, mostly in order to guard the infantry against Russian flanking maneuvers. Charles XII himself led the cavalry on the left flank. The Swedish artillery corps, under the command of Johan Hublad, had 16 artillery pieces placed in between the left and right wing of the army, and 21 were positioned on the left wing. Moving his army through the forest and barely passable trails, Charles reached the outskirts of Narva and positioned himself on Germansberg Hill. After performing reconnaissance of the Russian defences, at 10 AM on the 19th, Charles positioned his army in preparation for battle. He was hoping to meet Peter on the battlefield. However, the Tsar had left Narva the day before the battle, taking Fyodor Golovin with him. The command of the army was passed to Charles Eugene de Croy, a Saxon diplomatic envoy to Peter. De Croy, aware of his lack of military skill, was initially unwilling to take command of the army. However, it is said that Peter convinced him over a glass of wine. Avtonom Golovin, Vierda, and Trubetskoy were just
That's all it takes is a single glass of wine.
As inexperienced as de Croy was. The most capable Russian commander at Narva was Boris Sheremetyev, although he was passed over for holding a lower rank than the others. The Russian commanders, even though fielding a superior force, were unwilling to commit to open battle, fearing that the Swedish army that they were seeing was merely the vanguard of a much greater unit.
Okay.
The battle commenced when Charles ordered his soldiers to fire 2 volleys at their enemies and advance towards the trenches. At 2 p.m, the weather changed. A heavy snowstorm and hailstorm started, and the wind was blowing directly in the face of the Russian soldiers. Using the snowstorm as a screen, Charles ordered his men to fill up the trenches with fascines and start directly assaulting the Russian positions. In less than 15 minutes, the Swedish infantry filled up the trenches enough for their cavalry to pass. The Russian soldiers did not see the Swedes until they were right in front of them. The infantry under the command of Rienschold quickly captured the artillery batteries in the center, while the infantry under Stenbock directly assaulted the Russian army. Due to the number of barracks and the bad positioning of the Russian ramparts, the Russian troops did not have much room to maneuver, and brutal close-quarters combat ensued, where the Swedish soldiers had the clear upper hand. Due to the relentless Swedish assault and the surprise of the attack, the majority of the Russian right flank descended into complete disarray. A large number of the soldiers fled towards the bridge to the north. Few managed to escape though, as the bridge collapsed under their weight, taking many men with it to the bottom of the river. Many of the Russian soldiers tried swimming across the ice-cold river as well, with almost all drowning in the process. The soldiers who were left in the trenches also started to flee, only to be forced back by Charles's dragoons. The only part of the Russian right which still posed some organized resistance were the elite Preobrazhensky and Semyonovsky guards. They created a wagon fort on the far side of the Russian right wing, near the Narva River. Continuous assaults against the wagon fort did not yield any results, and the Swedish army suffered heavy casualties. In the meantime, the Swedish right wing saw as much success as the left. The Russian forces were quickly routed, and part of the Swedish right was able to join the left wing shortly afterwards. Sheremetyev, seeing that the cavalry would be useless in this type of close-quarters combat, fled southwards. De Croix, also aware of how dire the situation was, decided to surrender to Charles. As night began to fall, the battle became even more fierce and bloody. Charles drew up many of his footmen in between the city and the entrenchments so that he could not be surprised from any side. Wishing to cut the lines of communication between what was left of the Russian army's wings, Charles ordered Hublot to capture the artillery battery on Goldenhof Hill. By morning, General Golovin surrendered as well. His troops were allowed to keep their arms, as Charles admired the bravery of the 2 elite guards. General Vieda, learning of the surrender of the right wing, subsequently surrendered.
I'll just say bravery for sure, because when your back is against the wall and your only option is death, man, you will do everything to survive. So, that other unit, I'm surprised that they lasted as long as they did to be able to survive. So you can tell they were backed into a corner. And I said the one guy was a coward. Yeah, I take that back. Okay, cavalry unit, what are they going to do? But they could have tried something.
The left wing. After receiving the arms and standards of the left wing, Charles allowed the rest of the Russian army to leave over the bridge, which his forces had already repaired.
That was nice, let them leave.
The battle was a catastrophe for the Russians, as their casualties amounted up to 10,000 men, with De Croix and most of the other commanders ending up as prisoners. The Swedish army, on the other hand, lost less than 1,500 men. To make matters worse for the Russians, the Swedes had captured 143 cannons and 28 mortars, almost the entire amount of artillery that Peter the Great had at his disposal, as well as the entire Russian baggage train.
10,000 men.
The Battle of Narva confirmed 2 things to Europe: that the Swedish army was one of the best, and that the Russian army was as ineffective as it was large. Charles XII, merely 18 years of age, proved that he was a more than capable military commander who, backed by an army of as great quality as the Swedish one, could overcome the insurmountable odds that were stacked against him. With the victory at Narva, a complete Swedish victory in the war seemed like a distinct possibility. On the other hand, knowing that his army was merely beginning to reform, Peter the Great was not disheartened, and he famously remarked, "They have beaten us, they might beat us again, but in time they will teach us how to beat them."
That's a good attitude.
While Charles and his forces settled around Dorpat for winter quarters, news of his victory at Narva created shockwaves throughout Europe. Peter the Great, realizing that Augustus II might already be trying to enter peace negotiations with Sweden, offered the Saxon Elector financial and military help in return for staying in the war. By the beginning of the campaigning season, in May, reinforcements from Sweden arrived in Revel, and they joined the main Swedish army in the middle of June. Having united his forces, Charles set off for Riga on June 17th. However, as the Russians frequently raided and harassed Swedish positions, he was forced to leave behind 6,000 men in Ingria and Estonia under the command of Schlippenbach. Although the Saxon army besieged Riga from the beginning of the war, they did not have the manpower or the equipment to take the well-fortified city. After learning of the arrival of the Swedish army in Livonia in late 1700, the Saxon troops retreated beyond the Duna River, modern Daugava, for winter quarters. During the winter season, the Saxons, under the command of Steinau, heavily fortified their side of the river in preparation for a possible Swedish crossing. The Swedish army arrived near Riga on July 14th, and Charles, being aware that making a direct crossing would be a huge risk and quite costly in manpower, opted to weaken the Saxon defence first. Several hundred of his horsemen, as well as part of Riga's garrison, were ordered to head upriver towards Kockenhusen, a seemingly ideal place for a crossing. As a result, Steinau was forced to stretch his forces thin to cover both the possible crossing points at Kockenhusen and the one near Riga. On the evening of the 18th, Swedish forces...
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. I need to watch... Apparently I need to watch a video about Sweden back in the day, because they were some powerhouse sumbitches. That's crazy. Peter the Great's attitude, though. You know? You'll beat us. You beat us again. You keep beating us, but we're going to learn from it. We're going to learn your tactics. We're going to learn how to best defend it. And we might fight you in battle number 3. And maybe you lose a lot more and we do better, but we still lose. But you're going to now start to see development. And you're going to see growth, and we're going to figure out better tactics. Maybe a better weapon comes around, or something. And it just takes time. Doesn't happen overnight. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. I'm going to make another video, but I think I'm going to have go have a rum and coke. So. If you see a video of me next drinking a rum and coke, then I made a rum and coke. I'm just going to end this here. Like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell them I'll give them money. That's not true, but just tell them anyways. And then contact YouTube and ask for money. I don't know. So have a good day. Have a good night.